Well, to begin there, guys, Brian, the Three Topics Gamer, here to bring you another episode of my weekly Q&A show, Top People's Questions, where I answer a number of questions that have been sent to me over the past week. This time we got actually quite a number of very in-depth questions that I really want to talk about. There were a number of questions that I did answer in the comment section, so be sure to check the notifications to see if I actually answered your question in the comment section. But there are some of the good ones that I will be answering here, so prepare yourself. So starting off, we're all simple with the first question coming from Santa Scarpino, and you want to know, out of all of the Star Wars Extended Universe material that I've seen / read, which is the one that I think was with the most potential that failed to utilize it? Most potential, but didn't quite live up to it. I don't think we spent enough time going into the Sith Civil War that happened prior to like the Old Republic days. I think it just ended a bit abruptly. I mean, I understand the whole essence of the Sith is that it turns on itself, but I just kind of felt that they could have dragged it out a little bit longer, because it just seems to be a crazy pattern that the dark side turns on itself like right when they almost have the light side beaten. That's just the crazy part. It's like it's like if you take like 100-page book. For 90 pages, the Sith are doing fine, they're working out well, the light side is almost destroyed, the Republic is almost gone, and then right at the last moment, those last 10 pages, it turns on itself, and then they weaken themselves, and then the Republic or the Jedi or the light side, it comes back and it forces them into exile. And that just sucks. I just wish they had extended that just a little bit longer. So I think which had the It wasn't a total failure, but I think it could have been a lot better. Next question comes from Phantom Sidious, and you want to know, why do I think video games have far more success in crafting and making great sequels than most Hollywood movies do? I think because, here's my opinion. Number one, I think the time gap between certain games, between movies, is longer, and there's more time spent into them. And I think the fact that the difference between video games and movies is with movies, you have to condense everything in 2 hours, and if you have a good enough story prior, it's kind of hard to want to make something better or as good. With video games, because you have that player control, I think there's much more pressure and you're given much more time to flesh out your story, and I think that's the one disadvantage that video games have always had over movies. With movies, all you do is you show up, you sit your ass down for 2 hours, and you just take what it gives you. But with the player, it requires the player to actually interact. It requires the player to actually take a part in how the story is told. And you are given several more hours. Therefore, you have more time to actually be invested in the story that you are telling. Therefore, in that essence, video games, just by principle, certainly have an easier time to have a better sequel than movies do. Next question comes from Eric. I'm just going to call you Eric C. The last name's a little bit hard to pull off. But you want to know, what are my thoughts on Edward Furlong returning to play John Connor in the upcoming Terminator movie? Okay, now this might be a spoiler, but this information is out there. So if none of you that see this know this, but I'm sorry, but I'm a little pissed off about it. Because if the reports are right from what I read, or from what people who were there saw, basically Edward Furlong is really only in this movie for 5 minutes. And basically, here's what happens. This is how this whole thing happens. Apparently, John Connor will be killed off in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the film. And then basically with John Connor dead, I think the Terminator and Sarah Connor will be like, what the heck do we do? Well, we gotta find a new savior to be the new guiding light of humanity. And that's where this new female protagonist comes from. So basically, they kill off John Connor immediately. Now he's out of the way, and just another wonderful franchise that has been ruined by SJWs. And at this point, I'm done with Terminator. To me, I've been tempted to make a video explaining why I believe wholeheartedly that Terminator 3, despite its flaws, is really the best sequel to Terminator 2. It really is, because at least in a sense it managed to do something that the other movies couldn't do, and at least have a story that goes in a circle, almost. I mean, Terminator Salvation couldn't do it, and then Terminator Genesis couldn't do it, and now they're trying to make another supposed sequel the Terminator 2, and it just can't be done at this point. Terminator 3, I think, is still the best sequel, and as far as I'm concerned, it went full circle, and that's all you. And for a story involving time travel, that's kind of what you need. And they don't want to do that, and they want to go in this new direction, and I want nothing to do with it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm good with just the original 3 Terminator films. That's all I ever want to watch moving forward, or ever again. So that's how I feel about it. Because just to bring Edward Furlong back after everything he's been through personal-wise, just to kill him off in the first 5 minutes, I think it's just insulting. I think it's insulting. But I'm fairly certain that's what's going to happen. That's what I've been told is going to happen, and I'm just sick of this. I'm sick of all this. Next question comes from MFE Vick, and he wants to know, which series would I love to collab with developers to make a prequel/sequel, and what would be my pitch for the premise to be? Oh, that's easy. If I could make a prequel or a sequel to anything, I would make a prequel to Final Fantasy X and have it focused around the 3 characters of Lord Braska, Jecht, and Auron. Even though we pretty much saw how things worked in Final Fantasy X, just to see the entirety of their journey, I think would make for an incredible prequel, even knowing what's going to happen. Yeah, so that would be my pitch. And the last question of the episode comes from Brady Burick. He wants to know, what is the best video game expo that I've ever been to? Okay, well that's easy. The best video game expo that I've ever been to was actually E3 2013, which is actually the only E3 that I've ever been to. The reason why that one sticks out the most is because, number one, it was the very first convention of a video game that I've ever been to. And back in 2013, it was during a time where you actually had to earn your way or be invited to actually go to E3. And at that time, I was writing for a local newspaper on video games, doing video game reviews and talking about, future tech and how it was going to work. So I technically was in the media in a sense. So I was invited to go to E3. I sent an invitation. And it was just an amazing feeling, and I met so many great developers. I played so many different games. I still have several souvenirs that I still have to this day. I got to meet my 2 favorite YouTubers in Ray Shmore and Angry Joe for the very first time, and apparently that was the first time they had ever met. I also got to meet SS Sniper Wolf there before she got really popular, which sadly nowadays she's the only YouTuber I openly don't like anymore, and I'm not ashamed to say that. She was a much nicer person back then, and there was a little funny story about what happened during our meeting there, but that's beside the point. And that was really the one convention that convinced me that I wanted to work in a media sense for the gaming industry. I had tried to go into game development, but once I went through the whole process throughout college, I realized that I didn't want to be making video games. I wanted to be reporting and talking about it and giving my own personal opinions, and it was just that very convention that confirmed that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is what I want to do for a career. Had I not done that, I don't know where I would be. I don't know what career choice or what direction I would want to go with my life or what I want to do. So yeah, that's why I would consider E3 2013 to be the best expo for video games I've ever been to. And with that, those are all the questions that were sent to me that I could answer in this particular video. I want to thank the 5 of you that sent in your really great in-depth questions that I answered in this video, as well as everyone that sent in your questions that I answered in the comment section of the last video. And if you like this video, be sure to press that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to keep track of my future videos. And if you have any more questions you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. But make sure you get them into me roughly around noon on Wednesday before I start filming the next episode. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.